Welcome to the latest Motley Fool scoreboard. I'm Anand Chokkavelu, and we've got longtime Fools Jason Hall, Toby Bordelon giving a 1 to 10 rating to the largest U.S. bank and home to St. Jamie Dimon, JPMorgan Chase. It's JPM. Talk about the business first, right? Including factors like industry and competition. A 10 is invincible. A 1 is hopeless. Both of you have 8s, Jason.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm even grading on a curve because it's a bank, and 8 is good. So banks have big economic exposure and leverage risk, but there's not a better large bank you can buy. Its return profiles are exceptional, and because it is managed by Jamie Dimon, who, by the way, maybe he has some sainthood, but he's also a perma bear. I feel pretty good that the balance sheet and the loan books are about as stable and safe as they can be at any bank.
Yeah, this is a great business. Very strong brand name. Is banking competitive? Sure, but it's not super competitive at the mega bank level here because there are significant barriers to entry. Or I guess maybe the better way to say that is there are significant barriers to parity here. Anyone can go start a bank if they really want to, but good luck building it to the point that JP Morgan will even take notice of you. The one competitor that made a splash here recently, maybe Capital One, a fellow mega institution with the Discover acquisition, but maybe that gives him a leg up on JP Morgan in the consumer credit card space, but it's not enough for me to knock it down below 8. They're just really good at what they do.
Let's talk about management. A 10 is Warren Buffett. A 1 is Homer Simpson. Jason, both of you have 9s, hence the Saint references.
So when Dimon took over JPMorgan Chase in 2006, it was really just like a solid to middling bank. It was the second largest by assets, but it really trailed essentially all of the big four in returns when he was named CEO by a pretty wide margin. Now, it took time, but by the late 2010s, this was the best bank in terms of returns on equity, returns on asset, and by a pretty sizable margin. And of course, now Dimon is the face of the U.S. banking industry.
Yeah, I mean, has there been a better head banker in modern times than Jamie Dimon? If you say yes, I wonder if you've been paying attention, quite frankly. Jamie Dimon shined in the 2008 financial crisis. He steered this bank through that crisis, and it came out stronger than before. The clear number one in the industry, I think. While some of their former peers in some areas, they just don't exist anymore. He's well respected in the industry. He's built a great team around him. The company's great at managing risk prudently while still managing to grow here at a nice rate. Relatively drama-free, too, right? No Wells Fargo or Credit Suisse scandals here.
Some people might argue for Brian Moynihan at Bank of America, but that's the not consensus pick, right?
No bad choices between those two.
For financials, a 10 is a fortress, a 1 is yikes. Both of you have 9s here, Toby.
Yeah, I mean, the tier 1 ratio here is well above regulatory requirements, so no concern there. Strong cash flow, the asset base that's huge and still growing. This is a company that is so solid, it's the go-to option for regulators when they need someone to acquire a smaller failing bank, like First Republic back in 2023. I don't think investors have anything to worry about here.
9, no notes.
I think, we say a 10 is a fortress. We did a 9, but I think Jamie Dimon was the one who coined the fortress balance sheet, or at least that's the first company I'd seen use that. Now, a lot of people imitate it. Toby, let's move on to valuation.
If he didn't create it, he certainly perfected it.
Yes. And what is it? Popularized it. Moving on to valuation. Toby, how well will JP Morgan stock do over the next 5 years? How safe is it? 10 is a sure thing. 1's a lottery ticket.
I'm going to say 10 to 15%, but I think it's going to be at the low end there. Nothing to get too excited about, but I do expect a market beater. Safety, and maybe this is kind of bold here, but I'm going to go 10. Right?
Whoa.
And 10 to me, yeah, I know, bold. I admit that. In this instance, 10 does not mean no chance of failure to me, but it means it's safer than just about anything else. This is a systemically important financial institution. If it dies, so does the U.S. economy, quite frankly. And there's a ton of incentive to keep this bank going. That actually matters. Beyond that, though, I think it's just super well run, relatively conservative. It's as safe as it gets in this industry. And maybe any industry, with a possible exception of defense, I'd throw out there.
So, Toby, were this anybody else, I would question if you understood what a bank was with that safety score of a 10. But directionally, I do agree with you. But one of the things that I'm considering about in the safety score here is opportunity cost. And because it is a bank, the opportunity cost to me is a higher. There's a higher risk of underperformance. So my safety score is a 6 here, and I do think the returns profile is still pretty good. A little lower than you, the higher end of the 5 to 10% range. So directionally, we're kind of in the same place. But the valuation is the big thing here. The tangible book value is 2.5 times. This is a massive premium versus any of the larger banks and most smaller banks as well. Now it's earned that. Again, I talked about the returns profile, but they're also at the highest levels they've ever been. I think there's some substantial risk that we see those return levels come down. We have to remember JPMorgan Chase is the largest credit card issuer in the US. We haven't seen a recession since the financial crisis. That's a big part of that return profile is that. And I do think that creates maybe a little bit more risk. But to your point, if your number is the first number on the FDIC's speed dial when they need somebody to take over a failed bank, you're probably a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, the counter to that, why I'd probably side a little closer to Jason's safety score is just in 2008, there were paths where banks could have gotten nationalized where even though it's systemically important, as shareholders, you may have taken a bath. That's the
business
downside.
Might be systemically important, but the shareholders aren't necessarily.
That's fair.
That's a good way to put it. Let's move on to top it. Toby, is there a company in JP Morgan space that you like more?
No, that's my honest answer. If we're talking about big financial institutions, there's nothing I really like better. Like, look, I could give you some stuff I like better on subparts of this business, right? Like maybe Goldman or Houlihan Lokey if we only cared about investment banking, maybe Schwab if you're only talking about retail brokerage there, right? But in terms of the full package of a big bank that does everything, I just don't think that there's anyone better here.
Yeah, I agree with Toby, but let's invert this though, and let's look beyond big banks. I don't think anybody should really be investing in big banks right now because of the valuations and the economic risk. Find good valuation. Let's look at the specialists. Look at Live Oak Bank or Access Financial. Incredible return profiles for their businesses. They're really, really good at what they do. Exceptional bankers that are running them. And you can actually buy them at discounted valuations. If you want to profit investing in bank stocks, that's the way you do it. And I think that's where you start today.
Thanks to both Jason and to Toby. They've given JPMorgan Chase an overall score of 8.1 out of 10, similar to the 8.4 Matt Frankel and Jason Moser gave it last time we did it about a year ago, which means I already bought JPMorgan shares and will continue to hold them for 5 years. Look out for a new scoreboard every market day at 7 p.m. Eastern. Next up is Tractor Supply. Till then, full on.
I used to go to El Zarape Mexican restaurant in Rome, Georgia. Mount Berry Square Mall.
How was it?
I was hoping you'd have an Italian place, but great, go Mexican.
Yeah, I mean, we did go to the Olive Garden some too.
Nice.
See what I did there?